And the whole wide
Hi.
world. Okay, bring it a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like you're kissing it. Yeah, maybe not that close. A little bit further. All right, so.
Is that too close?
No.
Okay.
Well, I can't really see.
Like,
yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. Super exciting. This is number 2. And I'm kind of like bringing on all my favorite people to start because
Ooh.
it's easy. So this is one of my really good friends, Julie
yay.
McCoppen. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
I'm just thinking about your Facebook name. It's so funny now, hey, because on Facebook, everybody has different names, including myself.
Yeah.
And it's confusing.
I actually changed it back, but yeah, it was really funny because I used to work as an outreach worker with offenders on parole. And just for like professional boundary wise, I wanted to change my last name. Not that they had access to it, but I think one time somebody said it on the street when I was out with a client or something like that. And all of a sudden I started getting like, it went around the people that I worked with fairly quickly and started getting friend requests from people I worked with. So that's what incited me to change it. And so I changed it on Facebook, and all of a sudden, you know, I was getting mail from family who know, obviously, my last name, and they were addressing me based on my Facebook name. And I'm like, it's just, to me, it was like this real moment of the power of Facebook.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, totally.
It's true. Yeah, I know. I go by Deandra Dey, which is Day's my middle name, and then my real name is Deandra Tusinga.
I don't think I knew that Day was your middle name.
You didn't?
No.
Oh yeah, it is.
Interesting. Yeah.
So but yeah, we all have different like online aliases, and so it's funny how when it crosses into the real world, and you're like, oh, so what's your real name?
Totally. I was getting like, you know, my dear grandma sends still the same check that she sends all her grandchildren for their birthday, and all of a sudden she wrote, you know, my Facebook name on it. Like my grandma. I was like, huh.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Interesting. Yeah.
So Julie and I have been friends for a few years now.
Yeah. More than a few.
I think so.
I know. Time blurs.
Time blurs. So Julie has become a super good friend, and I think part of that process is when Julie helped Tim and I bring Joni into the world. Mm-hmm. So Julie was our doula, and I mean, we were friends before that, but now it's just like, feels different.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different type of bonding for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just being your doula and having been there, but I think it's kind of joining the Motherhood Club.
Totally.
You can relate on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I have dear, dear friends who aren't parents. However, it is like I find when I'm like, since being a parent, when I have friends who are dear friends who weren't parents and then become parents, there's like an even more special connection because you can just kind of relate on a different level.
Yeah, it's true actually.
It's hard to explain.
I know, but you know, it's funny. This came up the other day. I was having coffee with a good friend, and she's looking at, you know, they're going to start to try and have a family. And she started talking about the Motherhood Club, and that as she's gotten older, she starts to realize that there is like this club of moms. And once you kind of cross that threshold of becoming a mom, there's a different type of relating that exists amongst moms. And I think one of the reasons why we got so close too was because you were just, aside from being our doula, you were just always there for us in the early days. So that's been really, really special. So Julie's really special to my heart.
Dee.
And yeah, we're going to have a conversation today about all sorts of things, I'm sure.
Woo!
Julie, why don't you, I mean, I know a lot about you.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I could go on and give you like the most
you
epic.
we could just do back and forth. You could ask the questions and then you could answer them for me, because honestly, if somebody else were asking these questions, I would probably be like texting you and be like, what do you think? What do you think I should say?
Okay,
we have a bit of a running joke that Deandra and I are like, very similar, like to a creepy degree.
Yeah. Especially in our emotional processes. Yeah. if we're going to get really honest. So it's, we're good at validating each other's experience. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, but just for the sake of our listeners, so they're not listening to my voice the whole time. And you know what? Maybe you'll surprise me. Like you didn't know Dey was my middle name. Maybe,
oh my gosh.
Maybe we'll actually get to know each other more if that's possible.
I don't think so, but we can try. I'm a very open book. Like I was joking before we just started recording that I'm a little bit nervous, but I think people would be surprised to hear that because somebody on the street could like ask me how my day's going and I'm just like, bare my soul to them. So I'm like an atypical oversharer. So I'm sure I'll have lots and lots to say.
Perfect.
Or maybe I just jinxed myself. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you're the perfect guest then.
Oh, yes.
Oh, and this is an unedited podcast, just so you know.
And
okay. As we continue.
Good to know.
I do want to say before we continue that it's likely that there's going to be some cursing in this podcast.
Oh, yes.
So if you have like little people ears around or if like for some reason cursing just really offends you, I would suggest not listening further.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
not sure.
I actually really love that you took the time to do that for me because you know that I'm going to swear. And listen, I just got a new office and they were like, oh, shoot, like we swear in here. I hope you're okay with that. And look, I don't usually have clients come there or anything like that. It's just me. And my response to her is, well, you know, I don't censor for my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old, so I'm definitely not going to fucking censor for you. Like, and they were like, perfect, good match. And I'm like, great. Like, I've given up a lot of things over the years, especially parenting. I've gained a lot too, that goes without saying. And I'm just not going to give up swearing. Like, I really like to say fuck. So
there we go. Well,
there we go.
Give her, girl.
We'll just get that out of the way. And then I'm going to go the whole time without swearing. So,
yeah. Well, she said her swears already.
Yeah, they're out there.
Okay, so Julie, you just kind of said, well, you didn't just kind of say, you just said that you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
1 and 3, but tell us more about you. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I actually have 3. So I have a 1.5-year-old named Parker, who's a little girl. She's like sass on a stick. She's going to make me regret everything I've done in my life. And I have a 3.5-year-old named Peyton, who's a little boy. And yeah, my children are just savages. Like they just came out that way and it's perfect. I don't want to break it of them. They're so amazing. And I feel like I would expect no less from my children. And then I have a 13-year-old stepson who's about to be 14. And he's like your typical like 14-year-old boy who plays video games and holes himself in the basement. But we play chess sometimes. Anyways, totally unrelated.
Can we share his name?
Oh, yeah, it's Riley. Sorry, is his name.
Yeah, Riley. Riley's the best. He's so sweet.
He's very sweet.
So you're a mom?
I am a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay. It's a bit of a running joke with people who know me. Like,
yeah, come on, give us all the facets.
What doesn't Julie do? So I do a few things. I like to keep busy, although I simultaneously tell myself that I need to do less. So I think, you know, I'll tell you the whole thing, but I think I'm a bit of a, like, is dichotomy the right word? Like, yeah, I like do everything and don't want to do anything. And I am like this kind of, you know, outspoken person who swears, but then I jump into a birth space, which I will explain. And I'm extremely calm. So I'm a yoga teacher and very calm in my yoga teaching. And then I'm an entrepreneur and very business savvy in that. So I'm a little bit of everything. Like, I feel like a lot of my life I've tried to put myself into a box of like, this is my identity and who I am and I'm this. And the older I get, the more I'm like, I'm a little bit of everything. Like, you know, those color personality tests where you're like red or green, like I'm a fucking rainbow. Like you cannot, I'm just a little bit of everything. So I think I'm going to start with that. And I don't mean that necessarily in a like tooting my own horn of like, I'm everything, but, I just feel like you're
multifaceted.
I'm a mix. I'm a mix. Yeah.
You have a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on. That was a nervous laugh if you can't tell.
I feel like you're avoiding the questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not. I just talk a lot. Like, how long is this podcast? Yeah, just like get to the point. Okay, so I'm a little bit of everything. So I run 3 companies. I know, geez. Are you sure you don't want to edit?
No, we're not editing this. The reason why I think that you're avoiding it is because I also know that it's like slightly uncomfortable for you to like lay out all the things you're doing.
It's probably like avoiding from myself. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, oh gosh, I'm doing too much. Okay,
yes, okay.
yeah, so I'm going to do it. So my main gig, I would say, besides being a mother, so obviously I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a stepmom, I'm all those things, I'm everything at home. That's my main world. However, I'm also a business person. So I co-founded a company called Moga Moms, and I am the CEO, I'm like, I don't even know if that's the right title. That's like more of an internal title. I don't know what you can call me. You can just say that I run the company alongside my other co-founders. And we are a company. I am rambling.
I know you're doing
okay.
great.
I was like, I talk good.
No,
I
no, this is good.
swear. Yes. So Moga Moms. So we train and license yoga teachers to teach pre and postnatal yoga.
Yes.
So we give them kind of everything they need to go out and be successful, however they define that, and to create communities for moms in their own towns. So we have yoga teachers across the world.
It's so cool.
So,
And
yeah.
lots of, you have a couple online trainings as well
Yeah,
as in person.
so all our trainings, well, we do about 1 a year retreat style where people can come and learn from us in person from our amazing head yoga instructors, Hannah Dey, actually. That's funny. But Dey with an A, not a Y or E. What? But most of our trainings are online. So people can do it at home without pants on, which is like my favorite part about
Especially
it.
with moms.
Yeah, I'm like, you can, be nursing your baby or like throwing snacks at your toddler while you're doing this. And, it gives you, I just think it's really good information, even if you're not a yoga instructor. So it just gives you something to do. But so that being said, so we have online yoga trainings and we do webinars and little mini trainings and things all around towns. That's my one company.
Yeah.
And so then I'm also a photographer, which is fairly new to me. But one thing about me is like, I really run with things. Like you give me something, I'm like, I do photography now. And like,
and you're killing it.
And then I do it. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's really a passion. A lot of my Moga, so the company is called Moga Moms. So a lot of what I do with Moga Moms is very business side of things. So I am a yoga teacher, but I really stick to the business side of things. So I'm looking at all our marketing and our sales and our online funnels and all that crazy stuff. And so the photography side is really just to give me kind of a creative outlet because I'm equal parts analytical and creative. So I really love the photography, and all my stuff is really in the realm of mothers and women.
Yes.
So most of I wouldn't say that's exclusive. Like I did some headshots for a company a couple weeks ago that were mostly men. But I really love the motherhood stuff. So I got into photography because of birth photography is really what pulled my attention there, which came about because my third company is called Stork to Cradle, and we offer doula services and childbirth education and a few other different things. So who am I? I am a doula, businesswoman, photographer, yogi, mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks.
And it's really cool because on top of that, Julie is also, I would say, like a community builder and advocate. So one of the things that she helped create last year, actually almost a year ago now, in our city was an event called We Won't Bounce Back.
Yeah.
Which was super cool. And I was pregnant at the time, and it was an event focused on this idea that we need to bounce back after having kids, but that we actually don't need to bounce back. And there's all this pressure to, lose the weight that we've gained or have a body or pre-baby body. And so that's all. So I would also say that you're a bit of an activist or advocate around motherhood and mental health for moms and societal change.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm like actively at this moment advocating, except for on a like within the realm that I just mentioned. So you pretty much like, even if you're just doing a photo shoot with me, it's likely some sort of like fight the man, like change society topic is going to come up. It just, I can't help it. But but We Won't Bounce Back was amazing. It was even, it started around bodies, but I think it was so much more than that. And I'm really fascinated by how we treat postpartum people. Specifically that we just place the focus in all the wrong places. I'm like, it's just mind-boggling to me that we would even be talking about something as trivial as what you look like when your world is like exploding, reforming, transitioning. I don't know. There's just so much more important things going on. Yeah. So that's really what it was about. It was about like, hey, there's like some other shit to talk about here. Like, let's leave the bodies alone because they're just bodies.
Well, and it becomes such a primary focus. And I think even as a woman coming the other side of labor, it can become an easy focus for you to put all of your stress and negative attention towards, right? Like there's so much going on, but then if we focus on just like how we're bigger or how our bodies look different, then we're not really tending to the other parts of ourselves that actually need the care. And it serves as a bit of a distraction from the fact that
1,000%.
Our identity is shifting and all of a sudden we can't do the things that we used to do to care for ourselves because, we're demanded in a different way. And our relationship has changed with our partner and our communication styles have also changed and we're not getting the same amount of sleep. And I mean, it goes on and on and
hours.
On. Yeah.
I think it's, I'll keep my body positive rant to minimum.
No need.
Well, just because I'm sure we could talk about this for hours as we have. But I think it's just it's an easy to control thing. It's something a lot of your experiences postpartum are not controllable and not tangible.
Yes.
And this is, controlling your body is one, probably something that you're just used to doing over your life. If you're a woman who's grown up in our culture, that's probably a coping mechanism that you've developed or a habit that you've developed. But I think more so everything feels so out of control when you're postpartum, and it can be something to focus on that's really like you could tangibly affect the outcome, but you can't really, but
Yes. You feel like you can.
Yeah. So it's something to focus on, but girl, like focus needs to be elsewhere for sure.
Totally. And with that being said, I just want to note that it's not that it's bad to like work out or take care of yourself in those ways, but it's just the aesthetic focus, not necessarily the health focus, which I'm sure we're going to end up talking more about because it's something that Julie's also super passionate about. So that's a bit about who you are.
Yeah.
Does that feel good?
Yeah, that's like more than a bit.
Well, I think there's more, but we can leave it there.
Oh yeah, we could go on for a while, but yeah, I don't know.
Do you like the term mompreneur? Is that it?
No, I hate it.
I knew you were gonna say.
Yeah,
I've just been like seeing this come up so much lately.
Lord.
I'm a mompreneur,
or like boss babe. Like I honestly just can't, because you know why? Okay, we're like getting to the gritty of who I am. I'm a little bit of a feminist, and by a little bit I mean a raging. Which I think we all are. If you don't think you're a feminist, it's probably just because you don't understand feminism. Or at least most of my friends, I think, because I even meet people like backstory. Back up. I just started a feminist book club.
Yes.
And we're calling it a feminist book club because that's the easiest thing to call it, but really it's just like a women-centric book club. So we're reading books that are about women's issues. And some of them are fiction and nonfiction. Anyway, so I was telling someone about this who is a friend, and they were like, I'd come, but like, I'm not a feminist. And I'm like, pretty sure you are. Like, I'm like, disagree. Anyways, so I won't go into that. You can just look it up yourself. If you're like, I wonder if I'm a feminist, you should Google that. Where was I starting with that? Raging feminist. I lost my track.
That's okay. We were talking about the book club. Then we were talking about...
oh, no.
Oh no, what were we talking about?
don't
Uh-oh,
know.
now our mom brains are coming in.
I know. Okay, so I have the worst memory these days.
It'll come to us. Because we were switching topics from who are you?
Yeah.
And I said that there's more to you than what we said, and then you're like, yeah.
I'm going to make Deandra reconsider her unedited.
No, we're going to do it. Okay, we're just going to move on. But just so
Okay.
you know, Julie is a feminist. And if you don't think you're a feminist, look it up because we think you probably are.
Yeah, but
and
that's like literally, that was a side thought, I feel.
I know
like
it
wasn't. But we'll come back around to it.
I'm sure. The listeners are like, you guys, we're talking about this.
I know. Like, I actually, like, it's going to be funny listening to this back. I mean, like, oh, yeah. But that's okay. Next question.
Okay. Okay. So I just want to actually comment on the feminist thing. I think,
yeah. Let's hear it.
I think that word has just become so scary.
Yes.
And so people don't identify with it because there's like so much backlash about it, but we can just leave that there. So if you don't think you're a feminist, if you believe in like women having a place in this world and having a voice and being respected and heard and valued, then you're a feminist.
Yeah. And I mean, I am not, an academic studying feminism. Like I use the word in the very like most basic meaning of it. I just mean that I think we all want equity.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I think that's like most people I know would agree with that. And that's kind of where my mind goes with feminism. What we were talking about is like on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah. It's a big thing right now too. I think our society is in such a place, but we're going to get to that. So we're going to leave that there.
Yeah.
So there. Julie, I know you're such an inspiring person.
Geez.
I know. I'm just going to like.
I'm blushing. You can't tell, but I'm blushing. Unless you're watching the video and then you can tell.
In the fact that you, I think, are just such a grounded force for women in our society, and that even when I said that you're an activist or contributing to our community, you're doing that even within the stuff you're doing, because I just think about, we came up to a photo shoot, a bunch of moms to help with Moga Moms, and then that ended up being this like group of women having lunch together, hanging out, talking about breastfeeding challenges. And so it's like when you create something, it naturally follows you that this becomes some sort of what's the word? It just ends up having an impact, an impact on moms. And so you've just become a center stone in our community for moms to connect with. And I know that because you are like highly resourced. So that's a big thing about Julie is like, if you're struggling with something, she's like, oh, I have something that you can read on this, or, here's some ideas. And you're very much about like no shame to moms. So like, moms, make your own decision. Okay, mama, make your own decision.
Yeah.
No shame.
Mom boss. I'm sorry. Introduced you.
Yeah.
I interrupted you. Okay. Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. We got it, folks. We got it.
We'll come back. Okay.
But yeah, so it's just you're super resourced and provide this like era of acceptance for moms. So that's a big part that I wanted to share with our listeners about what you do. So there is a big common thread amongst all the things you're doing, which is like family, health, female empowerment, community building, and changing stigmas around motherhood. So yeah. So
I hope so. I'm really glad that that's how you interpret it. I hope others see it that way. And I think that's just kind of been a byproduct of doing what I'm doing, but is at the core of who I want to be and what I want to do. So I really love that feedback.
But don't fucking call her a mom boss.
But don't call me a mom boss. Well, you can call me a mom boss. Like if like I just don't identify with it. And it's not even that I don't identify with it. I just like, I'm a little resentful towards the terms, even like we don't have like a dad boss. Like it's just like, so this is where we got on the feminist tangent because like I'm not a boss babe. I'm a boss. Okay. Like, are you going to call men who run companies or who work like, or who are entrepreneurs, like you're just going to call them entrepreneurs. You're not calling them dadpreneurs. You're not calling them mompreneurs. I think the terms, all those terms for me, just, it's almost like we're something special because we're a woman who works or who owns. It's like, no.
Yay,
Like,
look at you.
yeah. Like, oh man, it's a mom boss. Like, that's so cute. And I'm like, Nobby, like, I just think that it kind of lowers what we actually are and doesn't serve to put us on the same playing field as men, which we should be. But yeah. So that's my thought on that. And
it's a good thought.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thanks.
I agree.
Yeah.
I also think though that there's this piece around there's still an overbearing responsibility on moms in the home, right? So there is a bit of a difference in the sense that a mom who works is also a mom who's holding the emotional labor of the family in most cases. I'm not going to say in all cases. Doing the like administrative logistical labor of the family. But
working moms are drowning. Like, don't get me wrong.
but we don't need no cutesy fucking names. Maybe we should
I don't need
like,
a cutesy name. I need like, how about we stop like calling me mom bosses and like fix this shit? I don't know. Although I will say, like, shout out to my man. He is like pretty freaking fabulous and holds the load with me very, very well. Yeah. So that's my own personal situation, but 1,000% agree that working moms, entrepreneur moms, for the most part, are still holding down a lot of the same roles that they were before it was as common to be working out of the home, and but are doing that as well. And we're just kind of, it's a lot of pressure. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to some thoughts on the pressures on mothers and women these days, but that's something that I'm pretty passionate about.
Totally. So, Julie, I know you personally in these ways, but what would you say is one of the most defining moments of your life that you feel like sharing with people?
I feel like I've had a lot of defining moments, which I think is really just a byproduct of not settling. Like I traveled a lot when I was young, and I really went out there and searched for life, I guess. And that will bring you to a lot of challenges, which brings you to a lot of defining moments. So I think I've had a lot. But if I can think about the most defining moment, I just think there's no bigger defining moment or transition or change in life than becoming a mother. Or there could be, but I haven't encountered it yet. Yeah. And especially for me, because I would say it's kind of twofold. When I had my first son, who's now 3.5, I got hit with some very serious postpartum anxiety. But actually, I just had a hidden mental illness that I didn't know about. So I have OCD, and I would say the combination of having just had my son and then having this huge mental health crisis that was very, very, very serious, that surfaced, between when he was born and really peaked at like 5 weeks before I realized that something was seriously wrong. The combo of those two things just made for a really defining time, or what would become a defining time. It's not like that one moment happened and it's epiphany and my life's changed. It's, the process of dealing with those things and going through those transitions that define you. Or have defined me.
I can't even imagine. I mean, Joni is 10 months old now. So I can't even wrap my head around what that would be like at 5 weeks postpartum, having anxiety. Like, I definitely had anxiety, not postpartum anxiety, but having like overwhelming challenges mental health wise. And then that led you on a journey towards figuring this out. So, that you had OCD. So for you, is that, you realized something was off after having Peyton? And then what was your next step?
Yeah, so I can share a little bit about it. And actually, this is great platform because obviously you're very well versed in mental health issues. But I feel, I'll take this opportunity to maybe even educate one person who might not know about OCD because it's really misunderstood, I think. I misunderstood it for sure, which is funny in hindsight. I'm like, huh. So OCD is really complex, and I am not a mental health professional, and I can't speak to all the different varieties, but I can speak to my own experience. And OCD has lots of different little subsets, kind of, and different ways to experience it. And how I experienced OCD, and in hindsight, just to share, like, this has happened my entire life. However, I had a lot of coping strategies and a lot of distractions and a lot of things going on, and very minimal stress, honestly. Well, yeah, we'll leave that. That I just kind of brushed it off whenever I would have OCD moments or OCD intrusive thoughts. I'd be like, "Man, that was weird," and move about my life. However, once you have a baby, you often don't sleep very well for the first while, and you don't have as much time for self-care, and you have new responsibilities, and you're physically drained. Like for me, I just grew a baby, and
your hormones are everywhere.
Hormones, like all the things, right? Who knows? But I realized in hindsight that I had experienced intrusive thoughts throughout my life, just not to a point where it was unignorable. That's how I can describe my postpartum experience. Is it got so intense and so loud that I was like, whoa, this is not normal. So just to tell you a little bit about OCD, my OCD is characterized by very disturbing intrusive thoughts. It's like my brain in any situation, it's like living with a bully in your brain. So it'd be like in any situation, it's like, what's the worst thing I can think of right now? And then my brain would be like, that's what you want. So it's OCD intrusive thoughts are actually quite common as a postpartum mental health experience issue. That's not the word I want, but
challenge.
Yeah, they're actually quite common now, and I think some people doing work in the postpartum mental health realm are bringing that to attention more and more. However, mine's a little different because it's not just postpartum; it's just my OCD.
Yeah, it's been happening.
However, so some common ones that women talk about and that I also experience would be like an intrusive thought about like smothering your child. That's very graphic. Sorry, everyone.
Okay. That's okay.
But it's very different from like postpartum psychosis where you actually like have potential desires to do that. It's like this intrusive thought that is not true. You're like, whoa, that's so weird. I actually don't want to do that. But then you engage with it and it becomes this like vicious cycle of like your OCD being like, no, you really do. And I'm like, no, I don't. And it can be quite scary. So for me, I had a range of very, very disturbing intrusive thoughts to the point that I didn't want to open my eyes. So that's where it really peaked for me. It was about 5 weeks postpartum, and I was in the shower and I was sobbing, and my husband must have had my son, and I was sobbing, and I just didn't want to open my eyes because everything I looked at triggered an intrusive thought that was like disturbing to my core. Like I was thinking like, do I need to be locked up? What's wrong with me? And I just happen chance Googled intrusive thoughts. Like I wasn't even really familiar with that term, even though I worked in different fields that intersected with mental health work, including postpartum doula work. But I wasn't familiar with the term, but it came to mind, like these thoughts are not me. Like this is not what I actually truly want.
And they're uncontrollable.
They're uncontrollable.
So this is the thing about intrusive thoughts. They're thoughts that come in and totally take your awareness and attention off the moment that you're living in, and they consume you, and they are often irrational, don't make any sense, but they won't stop. So I thought it's like intrusive, like it intrudes your experience, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, to not think about those things.
Yeah. Yeah, it really shaped my postpartum experience.
Wow.
It was, it was really awful. So I happened to have Googled intrusive thoughts and came up with OCD, and I just bawled. I read specifically, and I don't know if it's really accepted in the clinical world, but what I've read about online, they call it primarily obsessional OCD or pure O. And I just started bawling. I was like, this is exactly what I'm experiencing. And it was a huge relief, to be honest, because I was like, I'm not crazy. Well, I'm crazy, but like, I'm not, this is a thing.
There's other people that are also this kind of crazy.
I'm like, oh, I don't actually want to do these things. This is what's happening. Okay, great. It was a huge relief, which took me to searching out a counselor in town who had experience with OCD and anxiety. And then it's just been a journey from there. Like, you know, I can't say there's like an end destination where I'm like, and now I'm better. But understanding and self-compassion and knowledge have gone a long way to help me, and medication to help me deal with all of that. And I will say that I had a much nicer postpartum experience with my daughter than I did with my son.
Wow. That sounds like a huge amount of learning in that first, year.
Yeah. It kind of rocked my identity, to be honest. Like I was, I'm a yoga teacher and I meditate. I remember saying this countless times after we realized what was going on and that it was OCD. I was like, I can't have OCD. Like I meditate. Like I'm not an anxious person. And then, and now I flash forward and I was like, oh yeah, no, I was a total anxious person who meditated.
Well, it's so funny how we think, I'm also a yoga instructor, how we think that just because I think in the early days of coming into this type of practice that somehow it's going to fix us or that it's going to make it so that we're healthy in our minds and that it's a way to ensure mental, emotional stability. But what I've actually learned from the practice is that it teaches you to accept how you really are when you get over the arrogance of being, say, a yoga teacher or a meditator. Like there's a level of identity or pretentiousness that comes from adopting that kind of lifestyle. I don't know if you, I'm speaking
oh my gosh,
primarily from myself.
And I think we've talked about this probably before, but I think for me, why I consider it such a defining moment in my life is because it really eradicated a lot of the judgments that I had. Not even judgments, but like beliefs around what it is to be a yoga teacher, what it is to be a mom, what it is to be a whole human, what it is to be healthy. I don't know. It rocked a lot of it and made me, just have a lot more compassion for people. And I think, I wasn't always, you mentioned me being an advocate for non-judgmental support for mothers. I think Reese said something like that, and that's how I would frame it. And I think a lot of that actually came out of experiencing my own postpartum mental health issues or just mental health issues in general, and going through the whole, I kind of grieved my sanity. I don't know. I grieved having perceived my mental health to be healthy. Right. And I grieved having to moving forward with a prescription. So treating it medically, being in a very natural world and friend circle. And, I'm a doula and a yoga teacher. That's pretty crunchy. I had to come to terms with no, actually, I'm okay with this. And I think that really helped me have more compassion and understanding for people and how they get to the decisions that they get to. And you just don't know. You just really don't know.
And it's not always so black and white, right? It's that gray space.
Very gray.
It's very gray. Very gray. And that I totally get what you're saying here, because even myself, when we're in this type of community of, say, yoga teachers and even mental health counseling and stuff, we can develop this idea that we actually have more control than we do. It's like, oh, if I do yoga and I meditate and I eat healthy and I do all this stuff, then that means that I'm healthy, and like I'm, you start to develop stances of like medical intervention or medication or yeah, and I'm not saying that those things aren't healthy. They are. It's something I work with clients with all the time. We incorporate meditation, but I think my point is that it's not one or the other. It's that sometimes we need to have medical interventions like SSRIs or antidepressants to help us just, navigate day-to-day life. And
Totally.
I think that's a really big one, is the medication piece.
Oh my
People,
gosh. Well,
there's
and
a
you were
big
with me
stigma.
through, I think, a lot of that processing, and you probably heard me reflect on this, firsthand. I struggled for a long time. I went 11 months without medication, even though the medication is breastfeeding friendly or safe. And it was really that mental piece of me trying to wrap my head around needing medication. And again, why I say that is like this whole experience that I've described is so defining, is because it's affected like so many aspects of my life. It really made me realize what was most important was being able to like have quality of life. Like I was like, this is what's important. Like, and I don't have it right now. And if medication can bring me there, then that's what I need to do, because what's important is being present here for my baby and being present for my husband and my friends and my life. It's not this ideal of clinging to being like a natural, quote unquote, person, or, part of my identity being like a little bit of a hippie or whatever.
Yeah.
What really matters is my relationships and being there. And I think that's really impacted how I practice as a doula as well. That's just not black and white. You just can't say like epidurals are bad, or like intervention is bad, or this is bad. And it's all relative to your experience and how it's going to serve you. And, that's really drastically changed how I, I think I was always very open and supportive of any client's choices, but I just have a next level of understanding of choosing something that you maybe originally didn't think you could choose or that you would choose. Medical stuff isn't bad. Like,
Yeah, totally.
intervention isn't bad. Medicine isn't bad. I think there's, I just think, one of the defining parts of it is that the world is gray, and there's no bad or good. It's just what's going to work for you and what's going to help you have a better quality of life and be what and who and where you need to be.
Wow. Yeah. Julie, it's so amazing. I think, so I would say, just having kind of watched you or witnessed and been part of you growing and changing, that is definitely the thing that you bring differently to the work that you do. It's this, I keep saying non-judgmental, but it is. It's like non-judgmental acceptance of people and their path, and supporting them and just empowering in their empowered personal choice versus, sticking to these idealistic ways that we think we should do, do things like, oh, I'm a yoga instructor, I'm a meditator, I'm a natural mama, or I'm, whatever. It goes on and on. I'm an attachment parent.
Yeah.
I'm and it can get really, really difficult as a mom, but as a human, like not even just a mom, but as a human, to navigate making choices, when really what we need to learn how to do, I think, is go inside and figure out what we need, what's going to work for us, opposed to constantly looking outside of ourselves for things to guide us to those decisions. Like, oh, this is a bad decision because it doesn't fit the identity box that I've put myself in. And I say that because I've also dealt with that in a big way coming into motherhood. And I just think motherhood provides us with a really good opportunity to look at our expectations of ourselves and how we see ourselves. But there's other ways, other people also experience this at other points in their life. But motherhood is just like...
I think, honestly, I think if life is too easy, you have too much time to make it hard. You just like, I think, we talk about the like clarity that motherhood brings. And I think if we put those into layman's terms, what we actually mean is that life got fucking hard and we had to like bare bones, like strip everything down and be like, hey, what's important? Like, cause I can only, like I'm treading water. I can only bring so many things. And so one of the things that I had to let go of was like judgment about a lot of stuff. Cause I was like, you know what? I just don't have time for this anymore. Like I got shit to do. Yeah. So I don't actually have time to like be judgmental about taking an SSRI, a medication for anxiety or OCD, because like I need to be able to like change my baby's diaper. Yeah. So that's just kind of what it is. And I think, that you can apply that, and I do on the regular, to a lot of things in life. Like, birth is hard enough. Like you don't have to like apply like morality. You can take the morality out of it and just make decisions. And like, feeding yourself is hard enough. You can take the morality out of it and not like think you're a bad person because you ate a cupcake or like 10 pounds of Halloween candy like I have this week. I just think motherhood in all its beautiful, challenging, like hardness really made things clear, because I just don't have time for shit anymore.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much suffering happens if you hold on to, if you try to keep all those things on your plate, right? And then you just realize that it's crazy making. Like if you're going to try to maintain this persona or this way of life, even though it's not working for you, it's like the only people that suffer are you, your family. And,
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. I like to think about parenthood as this adventure race, even though it's not really a race, but like this journey of like an adventure. And like, what are you going to pack for this adventure? Like, how are you going to come at this? Are you going to navigate it with the logical mind? Are you going to think, okay, what are the best things? What are the best tools that we need to get through this challenge? Like seriously, you're not going to get to sleep. You're not, well, most people don't get
honestly, Dee, I don't know. I just make it up as I go.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I'm like, I don't know that I have like a strategy. They're both alive. Everyone's alive. They're mostly healthy. They're healthy. They're pretty happy, so we're good. Like, I just like, I don't know. We do a really good job at complicating everything.
It's true.
It's
true. I guess I wasn't meaning like we actually plan.
Sorry, I wasn't.
No, not that actually plan, but that like, okay, if you're gonna come at this with like this view of not like it's gonna be a lot of stimulation. That's what I mean. Yeah. It's a lot of stimulation. So like you're on a journey. And if you're going to go on this journey, what are you going to take with you? Are you going to take a healthy relationship? Are you going to take a healthy partnership? Are you going to, those have to be the focus. Yeah. For me, at least, it's been like, what is my mental health going to look like? What is my relationship going to look like with my partner? And how can I be as present as I can with my child? And how can I somehow meet some of my passionate needs? Like not just sex. I'm talking like like art and
Thanks for the clarification there.
Yeah. It's like, how are we gonna have sex after this? No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's what I mean. Like it's like things really do get pared down when you become parents, because you just don't have the time to deal with the fluff. Yeah. Right? And you don't have the time to deal with the relationships that aren't really good for you. You know? You don't have the time
1,000%.
do the work that doesn't feel good anymore.
1,000%.
Unless it's a good paycheck that provides stability for your family, whatever. So it's a really good way to focus your life, is to have a kid.
Yeah, it's so true. It is so true. I mean, a lot of blessings come from hard things.
It's true. And you know what? We have to. The thing is, I think, and this might transition us a bit into the next topic, and I'm going to microphone for a minute here, but I think one of the biggest things we're facing as a society is our dislike of discomfort. Interesting. Like that we are avoiding, we just want to avoid all discomfort or challenge, and we're like, over medicating ourselves to avoid things. And I'm not talking about like mental health meds, like SSRIs. I'm talking about
I know.
all sorts of other shit, like alcohol and drugs and sex and
numbing,
totally numbing, because we don't necessarily have the tools. And I'm not outside of this. I'm just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, me neither. I numb on the regular. Yeah.
I'm a number.
I'm a number.
We don't necessarily have the tools to navigate what it would feel like to be uncomfortable in our bodies, in our minds. So we are like seeking other ways to do that, right? So motherhood or parenthood just really like throws you into the depths of discomfort, and it's like, you know, you have to find some ways to cope. And sometimes we don't get me wrong. Sometimes we cope poorly. I cope poorly. Or I like don't take care of myself in the way that I need to, but it gives you a lot of opportunity to practice that discomfort.
Yeah. No, there's like no escape. It's very similar to birth, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. Jesus.
And you know what? That just brought to mind, I'm sure I've heard this somewhere. This is not an original thought from me. Just as a disclaimer, but there's cultures where, talking about birth, and I like to tell this to my clients when I'm teaching childbirth education or whether they're a Doula client, is there's countries that really appreciate challenges of like physical endurance or like anything that's going to put them in a space that they have to overcome something. It's like an achievement. And we don't see discomfort in that way. It is something to be avoided. Yeah. So I think I was listening, maybe it was a podcast even, about the difference of birthing in these countries. I can't remember. I think it was a European country that they were talking about versus birthing in North America, and how these women just see it as like a test, like this testament to their strength and their ability to overcome difficulties. And I just think that that's a really beautiful way to look at it. Like nobody's saying it's not going to be hard. And I think that goes for parenthood too. But we're saying you can do it.
Yes.
Like you can do it. I know
Totally.
it's like kind of cliche right now, like you can do hard things, but you can do hard things. Like we're just saying that it's okay to be uncomfortable, and it's okay to be a mess and to find this really hard, and it's okay that this like might be painful. That's like, okay, you can handle pain.
Yes.
You just aren't used to it.
That's right. You haven't practiced enough, or you know, you haven't allowed that discomfort to fully land in your body or in your life. But for some of us, that's because we had a lot of discomfort at certain points that it was too much. And we couldn't handle it, and we didn't have the tools. So also like
it's
trauma.
A protection, totally.
Yes.
And I will say, you know, I don't like pain. I don't like being uncomfortable. You know, maybe how my dealing with a mental illness has changed me in that way is probably through lots and lots and lots of counseling, is coming to a place where I can just accept that I'm feeling uncomfortable. I won't say that in like intense moments of like I swore with the best of them during labor. I wasn't just like, I'm sitting in my discomfort. But in less extreme situations, like say I have a bad day of anxiety, I can now just be like, I'm uncomfortable, like this sucks. Or I have a fight with my husband, or, you know, a friendship falls apart, or I have like a business dealing that doesn't work out. I thank my mental illness for giving me that skill to just be like, okay, like I'm uncomfortable.
This is uncomfortable.
And I don't like this, but like, it's okay. I won't be uncomfortable forever.
Right. It will change.
Yeah, it will 1,000% change. Yeah.
And this is the other thing around, I think this discomfort is the reminder to ourselves that nothing's permanent. Like both the really high highs are not permanent, and the low lows aren't permanent.
I know. Our brain does a really good job, though, at making us think it is.
I know. Like, especially if you have a history, again, of a lot of trauma, then it's like it can be really difficult to actually believe that things won't be bad all the time. Because if you've had a lot of experiences that are bad, a lot of tragedies in your life, whether that's like emotional or even like actual accidents or... you know, there's so many different types of trauma. I'm not going to get into it, but if you've had a lot of trauma, then it's like that belief that things can get good. It's like it's not there. So that's also a practice, right? So it's not as simple as like just sit in your discomfort, folks, and tell yourself it's not going to be permanent. Like this is
No, I said a lot of counseling, right? Can we rewind? A lot of counseling.
Same. And you know, when I work with people as a counselor, a big part of it is acceptance of discomfort, but another big part of it is actually healing that trauma through things like EMDR or nervous system type stuff, not just talk therapy. So there's more to it than that. However, if we can start to even touch into sitting in discomfort, I think that we could learn a lot. And meditating is a great way to practice that, because when you sit down, there ain't no running away from that mind. And it is there. And just a disclaimer, meditation, you do not need to sit and like your brain doesn't stop. People have this idea that, oh, I can't meditate because my brain doesn't stop. It's like, no, folks, that is meditation. Being with that nonstop brain, right?
Yeah. Have you read that quote? There's like a quote, or maybe it's a meme. I don't even know social media these days, but where it's like, you should meditate 10 minutes a day unless you're really busy, and then you should meditate 30 minutes a day.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Like, oh, it's so true. The more you think like, oh, I can't meditate, the more you probably need to. And I'm a total hypocrite because I probably haven't meditated in like years. Well, many practices of meditation, but
yeah, it's
powerful.
It's a powerful thing. So, Julie, I did a bit of an offshoot there, but I'm going to bring it back. So, what would you say is one of the challenging things you're experiencing to date that you're wanting to share?
That was a big breath, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, life is challenging. Welcome to your 30s, I've been saying. I've been having this conversation with a lot of friends who were in our 30s and are like, man, like I thought I'd have my shit together by now, and I really don't, and it's really surprising me. Like I'm like, I thought you just like you had kids and then like life's like settled and then it's routine and that's it.
Yeah, and then there's that like big ugly expectation monster that comes up.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Like, because I'm in my 30s, that must mean I should have this.
So I don't have my shit together. So what's that mean? So I would say like probably my biggest struggle is it's all internal. It's not really external struggles that phase me. I truly believe with most external struggles and internal struggles, like everything's figure outable. You'll figure it out. It's we have like huge capacity to figure anything out if we want it bad enough, if we want to figure it out bad enough. So so external stuff like meh, you know, whatever, it is what it is. But the internal stuff is really, really challenging for me, not even just mental health wise, but just self-limiting beliefs and insecurities. And I feel like I'm finally at a stage, you know, I was like in survival mode probably for 3 years straight with my son being born, and I probably still am, to be honest. I'm just fooling myself thinking I'm not, but son being born, and then pregnancy with a toddler, and then another newborn, and you know, new businesses and all this stuff. It's a lot. Life is a lot. And I think I'm finally kind of coming to a place where I have the energy and time to reflect on more of that inner stuff that's going on behind the scenes, like getting to the root of things, which I actually think is a blessing. And I talk about, like, you know, in my own counseling sessions being like, like it's actually really great that I have the time to talk about like healing my own trauma and talking about my insecurities and some of these things that maybe can feel really debilitating at time. But I'm like, you know, rewind a little while ago, and I like that was bottom of the priority list. Like it was like survival. This OCD is like, you know, overtaking my mind, and all this other stuff is going on that needs my attention. So it's actually a huge privilege and a good sign that I'm able to go a little bit deeper to the roots of some of my own shit. We all have shit.
We all have shit. So that just brings me the thought of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So that we can't get to that space of self-actualization and if we're navigating our basic needs in survival. So, I mean, his theory has also been kind of disproven in the fact that some people don't have their basic needs like housing and stuff met, but they're still self-actualizing. However, I think you're right. I think if you're able to get to a place where you're digging deeper and you're asking some of those bigger questions, like, why am I programmed this way? Or where is this coming from? It means you're in a safe place in your life.
Yeah.
That you're able to
That's
actually
great.
dive in. So that's really beautiful.
And I actually love that you use that word, because I would say that the biggest challenge, the word programming, the biggest challenge I'm overcoming right now is really deprogramming myself on multiple levels, deprogramming like diet culture in my life, and deprogramming my own self-limiting beliefs, and deprogramming what I think a healthy marriage looks like, or what I think good parenting is, and just actually living. So I would, to summarize, say that the biggest challenge I'm overcoming is like my programming.
Yeah. And so how are you, if you don't mind me asking, how are you going at that? You said counseling.
Yeah, definitely lots of counseling, which I love. I'm a huge advocate of counseling. I'm like, we all need it. Go to counseling. I know it's not as simple as that, but how is it going? Lord Almighty.
Or how you're doing it.
Yeah, how am I doing it? A lot of like a lot of reframing, a lot of accepting, a lot of acknowledging, a lot of awareness of why I'm doing things that I'm doing and how they make me feel. A lot of reading, I just think I would say I'm like at the exploring stage, not the solving stage.
I was going to say, like, it sounds like you're at the space of curiosity.
Exactly.
Where you're like, there's that thought again.
Okay, I think, I think it's a blessing and a curse that we have access to so much information now. So I'm trying to access that information and explore why I do the things I do and why I feel the way I feel, and whether that's the trajectory that I want to continue on, or whether I want to change the direction. I will say, like, shout out for deprogramming in terms of diet culture and that stuff is, I've done a program called Balance 365, and that's been really helpful. There's, I just think there's so much deprogramming to do as grown women. Like a lot. Hugely. On so many different levels, and deprogramming what I believe is a good body and why it's a good body. All the stuff.
That's a big one.
Oh my Lord.
And it's something we talk about, you and I, quite a bit, is this diet culture piece, and the way that we are attached to our physical aesthetic as women, and how we've been taught to use that in this society as a gauge for our self-worth.
Yeah.
So how are we fitting these standards that have been set out? And the interesting thing that comes to me, and I don't know if I've said this to you before, Julie, but we talk about what we think an ideal female body looks like. There's like this ideal that comes up, but and part of us, I think, maybe I'll speak for myself, thinks that like that is what men want, right? Like that men want this type of body. And then when you really get into it, and you're friends with men and you have your partner, and then you're like, oh wait, they don't actually, like, that's not actually the experience of men, individual men, that they only want a body that looks like this, right? Because people are attracted to people based on many other things outside of a physical aesthetic, but that those images are coming from other places.
Yes.
They're not coming from men in our lives per se.
No.
Right? But it's like sometimes that's what we tell ourselves, like, my partner doesn't think, like a way that might manifest is like, maybe my partner doesn't think I'm attractive naked, or
of course.
Or maybe they don't want to have sex with me because we're having like a bit of a lull in our sex life, or
Yeah, I think that's just like a sign of how well we've been programmed. Like our programmers are really freaking good at what they do, that we like don't even blame them. We like are like, well, this person, obviously, like
our partners,
like our partner, obviously that's what they want. Like, that's what everyone wants. I mean, it is, I think for me, I won't say I have the solution, far from it. And I don't think that I'm the best example of body positivity or self-acceptance. I definitely am not, and I struggle with it on the regular. But I actually think that can be more powerful, talking about it with other people who actively struggle with it. Because we're all trying to find the answers instead of having the answers. I think that can be a lot more transformative. But for me, I can share that the one reframe that helps me very regularly is that my appearance is actually the least interesting thing about me. Like, I'm like, how I look is like I'm a pretty cool person. I have a lot of stuff on the go. I have lots of things to say. I am very passionate. How I look is just not as interesting as all the other things about me.
Yes. And I have to say that right there, that reframe, you've texted that to me in moments of my own personal doubt. Because we had done some photo shoots together, both when I was pregnant through the Truth and Grace of Motherhood, and then we did one with Moga Moms afterwards. Yeah. And I was having some challenges with my body, and I remember you texting me this big thing. I'm might even cry thinking about it, but you sent me this text about it's the least interesting thing about you, and then you said something about Deandra, at your funeral, do you think people are going to talk about how skinny you were, what your body looked like? No, they're going to identify how kind you were, and you just list it off.
Yeah, that's one of my other favorite things to say to people is, and this came about for me when I was at a funeral. And it was a mother of a friend who was just so lovely. And they were sharing pictures, and they weren't sharing the pictures and being oh, look what she looked like. They were just remembering those moments. And I just had this clear thought that at your funeral, people are going to gather and they're going to remember how you made them feel.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yes. And I think for me, that's become a little bit of my mantra, and separate from my body completely, is just, I want people, well, we have an inside joke about what we say about this, but I want people to leave me feeling warm and feeling good. And I want to be someone who makes people feel better than they did before they saw me. And I think our inside joke, I can't just leave it there, is that I want people to leave my house feeling, what do I say?
Liquored and sugared.
Liquored and sugared and warm. So Deandra comes over and I'm do you want a drink? Do you want some candy? What do you want? Let's get you feeling good. But seriously, that's become a little mantra for me. And it's really helpful in some dark moments of body image struggles, is remembering that at my funeral, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
And I want to live my life the way that I want to be remembered, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think that's
or the impact
beautiful.
I want to have on the world. And my waist size has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Let's also be real here. We're over 30.
Yeah.
It's all downhill from here.
I say that to people too. And, I probably copy half of this from Balance 365. So I got to give them props because they've probably instilled this in my brain. But, if you're eventually not going to meet society's beauty standards at some point, it's not going to happen unless you're going to be addicted to plastic surgery and your body is going to be your life's project. Maybe. But for most of us, we're eventually going to have wrinkles and we're going to have loose skin and, maybe we're going to have illnesses that change our bodies or something. We age, and age is not perceived as beautiful. So I rather deal with that shit now than deal with and stop my suffering, the suffering cycle of dealing with body image issues. Then wait another 50 years or 30 years or 20 years. Oh, I guess I'm getting old. 50 years. I'll deal with it before then. And deal with it then.
Can I interject for a second?
Of course.
I often think too about how I don't want to be 50 years old and still thinking about dieting.
Oh my gosh, yes.
no fucking way. I just don't want to do it anymore. And coming back kind of full circle to this piece around motherhood, parenthood, and how, you know, you only get to bring a certain amount of things on the adventure. It's like, I really don't want to bring this body image baggage, diet shit on this adventure, because I just want to eat food with my family, and I want to celebrate with my friends, and I also want to be healthy and feel good, and I don't want to be in a cycle of binging and shame and restriction. And, you know, like for me, that's been a historical thing in my life. So it's like, I don't want that anymore. And I also I want to feel good in my body for the way that I feel, like physically.
It's actually
not
really
for the way that I look.
Exactly. And I think that that's a big, for me, in this journey of ditching diets and becoming a little bit more body positive, I've actually become a healthier person. I have been dieting since I was probably 7 or 10 years old. And that's a long freaking time to essentially hate yourself. Because food was like a punishment. It's hard. It's so, I think, you know, lifelong dieters will understand what I mean by that. But there's I've become, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's such a deep issue. You'd have to like do multiple podcast episodes, and we don't have time for that. But for me, I've become healthier, and I can explain that in the way that I used to restrict and then binge and restrict and then binge. And health isn't just about your size. Health is about like, you know, people who say that they're just concerned about their health and that's why they're weighing themselves every morning. Well, like, no, you're not taking your blood pressure every morning. It's not actually about health. Like, it's fine if it's about aesthetic, but let's be real about it. And for me, letting go of all that, I can make choices. My choices have become more centered on how I want to feel, as opposed to how I want to look. And I want to feel strong for my kids. So I go and I work out to be strong and to be healthy, because it's good for my cardiovascular system, and it's good for my heart, and it's good for my brain more than anything, instead of like doing it as a punishment for eating a chocolate bar or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
It really can shift if you put the work in. And again, I am not there. I am on my way there. It can really shift, and life can become about much more meaningful things than what you look like.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think it's a good practice and a good journey to be on. I'm also on that journey.
Yeah. We're on it together.
We're on it together. And we do support each other a lot with this, I think.
We do.
We're constantly talking about it and validating each other based on these choices of just like trying to find balance opposed to this extreme back and forth. So just in the interest of time.
Yeah.
Do you know, we've been talking for a while.
We have been.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Well, I'm not going to say, that clock's wrong.
I was like, it's been 12 hours. Oh my gosh.
But just to close up, Julie.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a bit about like what you're really passionate about moving forward, and maybe how people could connect with you if they wanted to.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm a woman of many passions. It's a bit of a problem, is narrowing down my passions. But I think what I'm really passionate about moving forward, you know, it's the same thing. It's just taken many forms over the years, and it's about women and mothers. And I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I think supporting women and mothers to become who they want to be, release their self-limiting beliefs. It sounds really coachy. I don't do coaching at all. That's not it. But I could say, like, as a doula, I do those things working with women. As a childbirth educator, I hope I do those things working with women. And I really see myself in those roles specifically as just kind of planting seeds of like self-worth and like empowerment, to like seeds of empowerment to make their own decisions, and then holding space for those seeds to grow. And through the journey of pregnancy and birth and postpartum and early parenting. So I would say that's kind of how I do that in that role, and hope to continue doing that. And I'm sure there'll be advocacy parts that come up.
Oh, yes.
You know, I think I texted Deandra last week about like an idea of how to improve like the birth community here for women. And I was like, let's do it. Which we might. And then I see that in a little bit of a different way for Moga Moms, the business. Mostly most of our yoga teachers are mothers, and they're holding space for other mothers. So we're teaching them how to do that, because we can just reach so many more moms by reaching yoga teachers instead of working on a one-to-one basis. So that's kind of how it grew. And I can see myself as I do more and more in the business world, becoming more passionate about supporting women in business to succeed, because we are just vastly outnumbered by men, which is fine. But I just think there's a lot of opportunity to support women to become entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs at that. So those are the things that are kind of passionate in my life right now, and photography as the creative aspect. But I mean, I guess how I started it was saying I'm a like woman of many facets, and I guess that's how I'll finish it too. So my passions are all over the place, but are really centered in
Supporting moms. Yeah.
Supporting moms. Yeah.
Women. There's Moga Moms, so you can follow Julie at Moga Moms on Instagram.
Yeah, we're Moga Moms on Instagram, or Moga Yoga Trainings on Instagram too.
And then she's also, her other business is called Stork to Cradle Doula Care.
Yeah.
If you are a pregnant lady, right now, her website has a lot of great resources on it.
Oh,
so
amazing,
you can just like, without even connecting with Julie, if you just go to the website, there's lots of stuff that you can see, especially locally Kamloops. And then on Instagram, if people were interested in checking out your amazing photos, it's Barelife Photography.
It's Barelife Photography.
Yeah. And then, if you want to find her on Facebook, you can see all sorts of hilarious posts of Julie's kids.
I'm all over the place, guys. You just really can't escape me.
No, man. She's everywhere. And we're happy about it. So those are some of the ways that you could continue to follow Julie. And I'm sure, I have a knowing Julie's probably going to be on the podcast again. Something I would love to talk to Julie more about in the future would be birth.
Ooh, yes.
Julie and I shared that.
I just hate talking. I just you'll really have to twist my arm to get me back here.
Having Julie support me through that process was remarkable. And the things that she talks about in planting seeds and empowering women, I can say that she does that. And for me personally, Julie helped me follow the intuition of my body and birth Joni in a way that felt really integral to me. And so that was really special. And it was because she held the space of, you can do this. Your body knows what it's doing. Julie McCoppen, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Dee.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys.
Okay, bye.